Okay, Ed, we left off with this thing just being ready to be cleaned, I think is where we last saw it.
It was all dirty.
Yeah, that block was a mess.
So we'll finish up this project that we started the other day.
We need to wrap it up.
And so there's a lot of different things on these Chrysler motors or Chrysler products.
Oh.
Not necessarily Chrysler, we're Dodge, Plymouth, and DeSoto, and all those.
Right.
I think somebody mentioned the other day about he had bought a Chrysler 52 Chrysler and he wanted to know something about it.
Right.
So I told him, my answer was, you watch my videos. I said, you'll learn something, but we need to finish up that so
yeah,
he can learn something about it. And we'll go over a few things about these Chrysler motors.
Okay.
First of all, we'll look at this. You've seen us taking it apart the other day.
Yeah.
Pounding that steel pipe out of it.
Right.
That water pipe. And then this is our plug we put in it where we pounded that pipe out. I drilled that hole in there.
Yes, you did.
On that rod with that thing. It is freeze plugs. These are really not freeze plugs, as they're called freeze plugs, but I've rarely seen a motor freeze and blow these out. It will actually crack the block. And so they're clean out plugs when they cast the motor to get the sand out of the block.
Right.
That's really what they are.
Right.
There's a couple different ones, and I'll show you here. Here's one for Chrysler products. Use this little flat.
Oh, interesting. So
yeah.
So it's not perfectly flat at all.
No, it's concave, because when you put them in there, then you pound them with a hammer. They're tight fit.
Okay.
And you cave them in, and that's what tightens them.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, right.
Yeah, that's what tightens them. You get them out, you just keep pounding them, and it concaves them the other way, and they come right out.
No kidding. That's a great trick right there.
Yeah. A normal freeze plug or casting plug is a cup like this. And most everybody still uses this today.
Right. That's what I normally see.
Yeah, that's what you normally see. And so it's rare for these to be, and they're kind of rare to find them.
Yeah. Where do you find them?
Well, we buy them from our warehouse. Okay. Because it's a warehouse that supplies a lot of stuff for the whole Phoenix area.
Okay.
And they have a box of them. And they're expensive.
Yeah.
Because they're brass. So,
yeah, that's actual brass, huh?
Yeah, they're brass.
Okay.
You can see down the side of them here, there's 1 5/8". There's 5 of them down the side.
Yes.
And we always put brass in them so they'll last longer.
Yeah. Well, you know, when these things only get opened up every 60 or 70 years,
yeah, right.
You may as well do it right.
Yeah. So then on the Chrysler product too, they did this crazy thing that they put these bolts in here for the flywheel, and you can't get them out. Yeah,
they're captured in there.
Yeah, because the main cap goes back on here.
Okay.
So they can't get these bolts out. They won't come out.
Okay, so what do you do?
Unless you would take the cap off.
Okay.
So if you mess one up, you have to take the pan off, take the rear main off, and turn it around and change whichever one you want to change. So sometimes, if that was the case, we might tap this.
Really?
Tap it and put threads in it and turn it into a late model crank.
Okay.
The later model Chryslers then, with the 318s and stuff, had threads in here.
Oh, I see.
There's no reason to not have threads in these. So that's a little
another little upgrade. Okay.
Yeah, so this is kind of a thing that Chrysler did. Even the early ones, they had the bolts of torque converter, and they put them through here, and a nut and a washer.
No way.
Yeah, really? You got to, way up in the oil pan, you had to get a nut and a washer out of it.
That's wild.
If that's the case, you had to have this Chrysler tool. It's a 5/8 skinny tool with an end on it, and that could go from the ground, get in here and tighten these bolts on some of the early Chrysler torque converters.
Now that works when you can access the bolt and you have to be able to turn it to get to the next one.
The next one.
But what do you do if the engine's locked up?
You don't do it.
Get the cutting torch, right?
Yeah, get the torch. But this is a Chrysler tool.
That's a really cool tool.
I've
It's
had
long and thin.
Yeah, I've had this.
I love how that's designed.
I don't know who made it. It says Ohio, right on it, Ohio Tool Company.
Looks like a Mac tool to me.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
it does say Ohio on it.
Yeah, it does.
Mac tool.
Yeah.
And I think I probably bought this in 1959.
Right?
Yeah,
that's when you would needed it, right?
That's what I needed. Yeah, yeah.
I'll bet you've used it to get in some other thin spots.
Yeah, from time to
occasionally.
time. Right there, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's
So
interesting.
this is kind of strange here because the oil pumps on this side of the motor. It sucks oil through this floating
Oh, look at that.
thing you held on with a cotter pin. The oil goes through the oil pump and it crosses back across the motor and comes over here in this tube here. That's kind of unusual with the Chryslers.
Wow, yeah, it's got a whole circuit going around.
It comes on this side, and there's where it feeds all the cam bearings and rod bearings and main bearings, and oil pressure is all on this side of the motor.
Okay.
Even though the pump's on the other side.
That's wild. Now, what would be the reason to have the pickups
Well,
floating
just
like
because, I don't know. They just did it for a lot of them.
Okay.
A lot of
Yeah.
more people had this floating. It stayed on the bottom of the pan.
Yeah.
Sucked
Okay.
all the oil up, and I guess if you put the brakes on, it would float in the oil, and not necessarily vibration on some of these motors may break off.
Okay,
if it
right.
was welded on here.
Okay.
So sometimes they thought that about you. And
Sure.
a lot of vibration in some of these older motors, and it probably would have broke off, and then you mess up your motor.
Yeah.
But it's a lot better deal. It's not
Sure.
much.
It works, obviously.
We take it apart and clean it. I've had the lid off and cleaned it completely. And cleaned it all up.
My only concern would be if it somehow fell off. Now
Yeah.
you've got no
Yeah.
pickup there, but
Well, it's better than breaking off.
well, that's true,
Yeah, so-
right?
yeah, other than that, everything else is fine.
Does the oil pan have a baffle in it?
No.
No.
It's not
Okay.
mine. And we'll go around to the oil tube then.
Okay.
Old one, I think we videoed that.
Yes,
That's
we
the old
did.
one.
That's crazy how corroded that
How
was.
corroded it was, yeah.
It didn't have much left of it at all.
Yeah.
And so now the fluid will go in here and it'll correctly go down and
And
cool
come
all
back
the
out here
valves
in the
and
water
come out
pump,
there.
yeah, and we cool the motor right off.
Very cool.
Yeah.
The rest of this engine, is it pretty normal? Is there anything else?
There's
that's
nothing
kind of
wrong.
unusual?
Nothing. It's just normal. Yeah. The valves are quite a pain.
Is that right?
Yeah, they're difficult to get out without the tools
Uh-huh.
because the valves and the guides and the valves are all lined up. You can't take one apart without the other one.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe how cleaned up this block is compared to what
Well, the other day it was clear full of sand too.
it was. That's right.
The whole motor was full of sand.
It was really packed.
Yeah.
So, all right. So then all you have to do is pretty much put the oil pan on, a few things, and
Cylinder head.
cylinder head, right?
Yeah.
Where did that cylinder head go? Okay, so here's the head for that engine.
Yeah. This milled out pretty good. So I think this motor is a good chance that it's never been tore apart. It was in that Airport Tug.
Uh-huh.
And so then the block was quite difficult because it had the block itself. In those days, I don't think they machined it. They don't have the machinery we have today.
Uh-huh.
But the block is kind of crooked like a wave.
Oh, really?
And we had quite a time to get a little bit off of this corner, a little bit off of that, and a little bit off the middle to actually get it straight
Really?
on our machine. So it took me quite a while to get that
So it
straightened
got a
out.
little complicated.
Yeah. And this head here has a little hole right there.
Oh, what's
Yeah.
that about?
And then it has a plug right there on top of that hole.
Okay.
And this is the number 6.
Okay.
So you can actually put a wire in there and turn the motor over and see when number 6 comes to the top,
Oh,
like top dead center. Yeah, you just take that plug out and put a wire in, turn the motor over real slow, and the piston comes straight to top.
Yep.
You can check your degrees down on the pulley, your
Uh-huh.
markings,
uh-huh.
and you'd know that you'd put with this piston at the top, you could put the distributor here, because that's opposite for the plug wire.
Uh-huh.
It's opposite number 1.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that is interesting.
yeah. And then this particular head has a freeze plug right here. I didn't take out. I
Okay.
probably will take it out. And it has a temperature sender in this hole.
Okay.
And this had a bulb that was mechanical temperature gauge that
Uh-huh.
went clear up into the dash.
No kidding.
So to get this plug out of here, get the temperature gauge out of here, you could unscrew it, but that temperature bulb was stuck in here. So this plug is to knock the plug out
Okay.
and get a screwdriver and gently work that bulb out of here and clean it. If you broke it off, you have to buy a new temperature gauge.
Right. Wow.
that wasn't funny.
Yeah, so that was part of that literally was a mechanically connected system that way.
Yes, solid.
Yeah.
It's a bulb like a thermometer.
That's
So this plug is
interesting.
mainly for just to get that bulb out of there. So it was a good job on engineering from Chrysler Corporation.
Yeah, and it didn't need any electricity to do it.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So it's a little bit. That's about it on the cylinder head. Other than
Yeah,
that's the standard
very
head.
good. Thank you for showing us.
Standard head, yes.
Okay, it is possible to resurrect an engine full of dirt and sand. Ed Smith did it. Here's that Chrysler or Dodge 230 Industrial 6 in its assembled form. No test run here today. The customer's going to do it at their place, but everything's checking out just fine. So there we go.